Hey guys, welcome back to Tower of Fantasy. In today's video, we're going to be doing a PvP tier list for the game. Now, I've played about 100 games or so, maybe a bit less. Peaked out at about rank 35 on my server, which is Solaris. I'm not the best player, but there's a definitive meta that's really getting set out. So if you're jumping into PvP, hopefully this tier list will get you pointed in the right direction. Now, hang around and listen to my explanations. I'll try and do as best I can to describe the teams that I'm putting in here. But let's get into it. First of all, we're going to look at the SS tier. We're going to kick it off with Nemesis. Let's just put the three characters that I think are S tier in there, and then we'll talk about them individually. Nemesis, Meryl, and Coco. So Nemesis, obviously a fantastic character. Even without running her with any other Vault characters, she's still really powerful. Her ability to slow enemies, leave the electrodes out there to deal some damage, and then also, get the healing rolling with dodges is absolutely fantastic. Honestly, the biggest thing for me is her slow with her standing still, dodge, and hit. It leaves you a really big opening to go in with something like Coco and then continue a CC chain, which is absolutely fantastic. So Nemesis, top tier 100% in my mind. The next one is Meryl. Meryl's just an absolute beast. When you look at damage dealers, I know she's a tank, but when in PvP, she's a core damage dealer. She's just the best of them. She's got so much immunity with when she's spinning, she's just immune. On top of that, when she's doing her slashes, she's immune. She can trap enemies in and she can just deal some absolutely massive damage. Now, Nemesis and Meryl synergize well together because Nemesis wants to use those dodges to get the heals rolling, and Meryl wants to use the stamina bar to do her spinning, so they don't really steal from each other and they synergize really well. Next up is Coco. Now, honestly, for me, I think Coco is actually almost more important than Nemesis. I'd have to do some testing without either one and play around. But Coco's ability to generate energy is absolutely ridiculous. Plus her healing, and then on top of that, her basic attacks with such high charge rating, also juggling enemies. She's just insane. And on top of that, she is ice, so while she's juggling these enemies, she's also having a chance to freeze them, and she's just an absolute savage in this format. I couldn't pick which one's like the best out of these three. They're all fantastic. So moving on into the S tier. The first one I'm going to put into S tier is Zero. Now, Zero was close to going into the SS tier. The reason being is if you run Nemesis with Coco and Zero, you can pretty much stall out the entire game, get your jetpack. I've seen just annoying jetpacks teams where they just basically stall out the entire game and heal up to full and just try and drop Nemesis electrodes and make sure that you're lower than them and keep their shields and health up so that you lose on the timeout. I don't want to put Zero in the SS tier because I feel like he's the worst of those healers, and he's only in that team because of the synergy that he works with those two healers. So that's why I dropped him down a tier. And also, I don't want anyone to play that comp. That comp is absolutely toxic. It's so frustrating. The only wish that I have is that anyone playing triple healer only gets paired with other players playing triple healer. I really hope there's something in the matchmaking where they can do that, because it's just toxic. Like, you can beat it, but it's just so frustrating. It's just insanely... I've hated Stall in every game I've played, so that's just personal. Next up, we go into the next one in S tier, which for me is Huma. Now, Huma is a great partner, whether it's with Nemesis and Meryl or Nemesis and Coco. Ideally, I'd like it with Nemesis and Meryl myself. It's more of an offensive option, and it just works really well. The great thing about Huma is she can deal big damage, she can mitigate a lot of damage, and she doesn't really rely on dodges or on the stamina gauge. So you can throw her out there. She's got 10 charge and 10 shatter, so you can just throw her out there, use her ability, burns the ground, generates good charge, but also has good effect on the enemy shields, and she can just sort of slap around for a while, and then you can swap into Nemesis to get the heals rolling, Meryl to go more offensive again, and whatever you want. So she's just a really versatile pivot type character, and I absolutely love her. Now, the one that this guy would go at the bottom of S tier / top of A tier, I haven't been able to test him in this format because I don't have him on my account, but it's going to be Crow. Crow can be an absolute savage. Basically, you do lose out on a slot where it forces you to take your jetpack in, because with Crow, what you can do is you can jump, activate your jetpack, and then use your attack. And what that does, normally when he does his jump attack, if it's like the jump hold attack, he'll do one slash and then do a dive. But if you're targeted on an enemy and you jump, jetpack, and then attack, he'll skip the little slow slash, and he basically just does like this dart where he just keeps darting and he goes through the enemies. And so, like, if you're not turning perfectly, he will get get you with backstabs, but the amount of damage he can deal in this little cycle. So if you're fighting people, especially ones with like Crow, Meryl, and Nemesis, if they shatter you with the Meryl, swap to Crow, he'll do like 3 of these dive attacks and you're pretty much dead. He can absolutely shred in PvP, and I just think he's deserving of the S tier in this format at the moment, the way it's set. Also on top of that, because Nemesis is so strong and everyone's running Nemesis, he's absolutely fantastic in that team because he does get the Vault Resonance, but he can also be used in a team with like Nemesis and Coco and work perfectly fine. It's just, in my opinion, it's a bit more tricky to make it work, and the other player has to be a bit slower, but it's definitely a viable, but I also like him with the Nemesis Meryl. Moving on from that, we're going to jump down into the A tier. The first one is going to be Samir. Now, Samir's really nice. She's got the pistols, which, you know, working at range, you can generate some energy and sort of get the hit stuns on the enemy and all that sort of stuff. But once they close in, the problem with Samir is that she's a bit greedy in, like, you like doing her dodge attacks to try and get the uppercuts, and then you like doing her helicopter attack, but then she's using dodges and she's using stamina gauge, which takes away from normally the other roles in your team. So she's a bit funny in that way. Her discharge is good, her ability is good, but even though she does have that resonance with Nemesis, I would honestly prefer Crow myself in a team other than Samir at the moment, the way it's looking in this meta. Moving on past that, we have Tsubasa. Now, Tsubasa is another good, you know, supportive type attacker. She's got good charge. She's got the knockbacks, which can really interrupt some people's combos, which is really nice. So if you're trying to Coco Ritter combo, you know, she can sometimes interrupt that. She can get those freezes as well, and she can buff the attack of your allies. So when we look at, like, you know, Nemesis Meryl, or if you're running Nemesis Coco, you can actually run her in there. Actually, she probably wants to run with the Meryl. So Nemesis Meryl as Tsubasa is a decent combo and works pretty well. I haven't seen a hell of a lot of them, but, you know, it's like the synergies are there. Then we're going to jump into the B tier. We're going to put Shiro here. Now, I still hold out hope because I really want to play Shiro. I don't have her yet, but Shiro's problem is if used at the right time. So for instance, if you're running like Nemesis Meryl Shiro or Meryl Coco Shiro, what you can do is you can try and get really close to breaking the enemy's shield with Meryl, then swap to Shiro, use her ability, and then if it shatters the shield, you can reuse that ability, get some dodge attacks happening in there, and you can absolutely melt someone. But the problem with Shiro is it's really hard to get that set up and do it perfectly and have an enemy standing still, because if you use her ability when the enemies aren't under control, they're just going to dodge out of it in one dodge, and it's just going to be, you know, job done. They're out, and Shiro's been useless. So Shiro is clutch and huge when used right, and just an absolute mess when you don't pull it off. So that's why she's down there in the B tier. I will definitely be playing a lot of Shiro in the future, trying to make her up to double S tier. Probably ain't going to happen. The next one that's going to be in here with Shiro is going to be Echo. Now, I feel like I could move Echo up. The problem for me is, I don't know whether it's a latency issue or what. I find her abilities miss every time. I have been absolutely clapped by one. So it may be latency that's making me suck at it, or maybe it's just that I absolutely suck. But Echo, really strong, good discharge ability, good uppercut ability. Honestly, out of all the SRs, I think she's the best. And she definitely has some viability, but I'm struggling at the moment. I tested her a couple times to make her land her stuff. So, you know, that's why I'm putting her in the B tier, but definitely a solid SR unit out of all the SRs. Moving on into the C tier, we have King, the only SSR down here. King just... He doesn't find a spot. Like, you can use him if he's like your only SSR. Like, he basically fills the role that Meryl fills, which is shattering and using the stamina bar because he wants to be in the air with his attacks. But the problem is, like, Meryl's just 10 times better, and you can piece together better teams using, like, Nemesis Coco, or, like, even Coco Zero or something, or, like, Nemesis Huma, Coco Huma with something. Like, you can just piece together so many better teams, but I can see some people having to use him if you're free to play and you haven't got any units. But King in general, just, like... just a really bad version, like a really bad version of what Meryl likes to do. So he's down there in the C tier. The other one in here is going to be NA. NA is actually decent, but, you know, she's just, I feel like she's much worse than Meryl and Huma in the position that she tries to fill. She does have some good mitigation, some decent control. And once again, this is for more free-to-play players who haven't had any luck to, like, pulling anything in their pools. You're going to probably have to default to NA, but you're not going to be left using NA for any long period of time. Moving on from that, we're also going to put Pepper here. Very similar. There's 3 really strong healers in this meta. Pepper, she's like Coco, but she relies on dodge, but you want to be using your dodges on like something like Nemesis. And Coco's is better because she also generates energy with the little bee or whatever it is that follows her. Pepper also has Coco's basic attack, which is good for juggling, but she loses the ice element, so she doesn't have that freeze chance, and she doesn't have the same buff. She's just... You know, you're going to have better options in my mind than Pepper. And if you are using her, it's not going to take you too long to replace her altogether. And then in the final tier, we got Bai Ling and Hilda. I don't really want to go deep into these guys. They're just not great in PvP. Bai Ling, headshots ain't going to do much for you. She's just lacking. Like, Tsubasa just fills that role 900 times better. And Hilda, honestly, Hilda, if you can make Hilda work in any form of content in this game, please let me know. I really want someone just to walk in and get to rank 1 with Hilda. It would absolutely make my day. I cannot figure out how to play her. Yes, I suck, so that may be the problem. But, you know, I'm leaving her down there in the D tier. But that is going to be my global launch meta tier list. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you disagree and your thoughts on that one. But... you know, I'm pretty happy with that tier list. It is definitely meta. Majority of the time, you're going to be seeing Nemesis, Meryl, and Coco, or Nemesis, Coco, and Zero. And then sometimes you'll get the tech options of Nemesis, Meryl, Huma, or Nemesis, Meryl, Crow, or Nemesis, Coco, Crow. That's the main things you really see once you start getting into like the top 70 or so. So that's been my experience, guys. Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching. Hope you have an awesome day, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Cheers.